Welcome, everybody. I am Brian Sullivan in once again for Neil, and this is your world. And it is politics as usual in Washington as the botched bombing of Northwest Flight 253 reignites the debate over who holds the top spot at the Transportation Security Administration. Right now, almost a year since the president took office, no one does. Former FBI Special Agent Errol Southers is the president's nominee, but he has yet to be confirmed. Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid's office now blaming, quote, Republican obstructionism, calling actions by my next guest disgraceful. With us now, Republican Senator Jim DeMint. He wants assurances that Southers will not unionize the TSA if confirmed. Senator, welcome to your world. What is your issue with Southers, the TSA, and the potential unionization of it?
Hey, Brian, thank you, and Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you.
The president has downplayed the threat of terror since he took office, and he waited 8 months to even nominate Mr. Southers for this position, and then he wanted him approved in secret with no debate and no recorded vote in the Senate. And this is all in the context of the president promising the unions that he will submit our airport security to collective bargaining with union bosses. This is the last thing we need to do right now. Our airport security needs to have maximum flexibility, the ability to move people around and change protocols, and it makes absolutely no sense to submit security of our airports and the passengers here in this country to collective bargaining with unions.
So your concern, Senator, is that if we need to make some sudden rapid change, it could get hamstrung with the union interference.
It certainly could, and that's why we don't allow collective bargaining with the FBI, with the Secret Service or CIA, or even White House and congressional staff, or the Coast Guard. I mean, security requires constant vigilance and imagination, trying to outmaneuver, outthink the terrorists. We don't need to put our airport security under the same type of regimen as the automakers had, and this makes absolutely no sense. And when I asked Secretary Napolitano, who has made it clear she wants to submit to collective bargaining, she could not give me one reason how this could improve the security of our airports.
Do you feel that Mr. Southers is qualified for the job?
He may be qualified, but not to be passed in secret. And just for clarification, Brian, Senator Reid could bring him up for a vote anytime. I'd be willing to let them limit the debate to a few hours, but we need to have some debate to point out that the protocols that were established for security agencies is going to be changed, because we didn't allow that when the agency was formed, because we knew that collective bargaining would slow down the decision process and jeopardize security.
Then what is the holdup? There seems to be plenty of time to debate everything else in Washington. Why not this?
The fact that we used the last several weeks of Congress to try to jam through a health care bill pushed a lot of other priorities aside. Now, the President or Senator Reid have not made this a priority. Senator Reid has not asked me for any kind of agreement so that we could move this to the floor. The only thing they've asked for, Brian, is to pass it by unanimous consent in secret, so no one will be exposed to the debate about what is really at stake here. We cannot allow them, by unanimous consent, to move ahead with the unionization and collective bargaining of our airport security.
Very quickly, do you believe that Janet Napolitano should step down?
I have not asked for her resignation, and I'll let others deal with that. But I do think that this politicizing security is a real problem in this administration. There is absolutely no good reason to submit security to collective bargaining with union bosses.
Senator Jim DeMint, sir, thank you very much for joining us. Have a Happy New Year. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you, Brian.
Take care.
Thanks.
It is not just the TSA. As of last month, dozens of vacant slots have yet to be filled at the Department of Homeland Security and the State Department. Are these lack of appointments making us all less safe? Chris Stirewell is the political editor for the Washington Examiner. Chris, what is the holdup?
Well, you know, the holdup is that in the first year of every presidency, there are a lot of slots that don't get filled. Now, granted, in the Obama administration, they've been slower than their predecessors in the Bush administration, and part of that has to do with the problems we recall early on, tax returns for the Treasury Secretary and other problems with lobbyists, et cetera, et cetera. Now we're at the point, though, where the administration has had a lot of stuff going on, and some of these slots, key positions in Department of Homeland Security, in the State Department, haven't been filled, and the pressure's on. I think that when we see the pressure being applied to Senator DeMint, what we're seeing is the administration may be working to deflect some of that problem.
Well, clearly there's a hole somewhere, because the State Department reportedly was warned by this suspect's own father that he was becoming radicalized. Somebody dropped the ball. Do you believe that this will speed up the process to get these important holes filled?
Well, the pressure is going to be intense on the State Department. Right now, we're in a sort of a back-and-forth phase where the Secretary Napolitano had a dreadful Sunday and a lot of blowback on Monday with the president trying to help her out. Now they're putting the heat on Senator DeMint. But as this plays out, it's all going to come back to the State Department eventually, because they were the ones that had the advance warning on this bomber. They knew that his father thought that he had become radicalized and was a risk. They didn't pull his visa, and they didn't raise the alarm to keep him off of flights on any American flight. So the wheel is going to turn around to the State Department. And I think that if I had to guess what's going on in Foggy Bottom right now, I'd say that they're trying to plug as many holes as they can so that they're in the best possible situation to respond.
You know better than I do, Chris. Finger pointing is the Washington way, but it doesn't solve our problems. It doesn't make people feel more safe. What are your sources on the Hill telling you about when the finger pointing is going to stop and action is going to begin?
Well, you know, it was a uniquely bad day in terms of the PR campaign with the administration because of what Secretary Napolitano said about the system working. So in terms of damage control, the attack on Senator DeMint was a defense mechanism, if you will. The problem now is, will the Republicans be looking to score points coming back at the administration talking about this? And at a certain point, just as the senator pointed out, the politicization of all of this ends up leaving people confused and not wanting the process to go forward, and it becomes a he said, she said. So clear answers are very hard to come by in a fog like this.
Fair to say national security should not be a partisan issue.
No, and that was the American way for a long time, but we certainly saw after the national unity that followed September 11th, all national security questions became political questions, and the 2004 and 2008 campaigns nationally were a lot of accusatory language being used against Republicans that they had made people too fearful, and that was one of the big strikes from the Obama administration, or the Obama campaign. Now it's going the other way, and Republicans say that the Obama administration isn't vigilant enough and is not working hard enough. So this is a very fraught question, and it's potentially very dangerous.
Chris Stirewalt, thank you very much.